There are a number of injuries that we see frequently at Farah Farah in trucking crash cases. Our truck crash attorneys will oversee a variety of injuries that are caused by semis. The most common injury, if it's a rear end crash, the most common injury that we see is an injury to the neck. It's technically called the cervical spine, and that's, when we're talking with insurance adjusters, that's a term we use, but it's the neck. The neck contains discs that can get ruptured or herniated in a motor vehicle crash, and we see that a lot in trucking cases because trucks carry a lot of load, they're heavy, and when they strike the rear of our client's vehicle, it causes a very violent whiplash with the neck. The forces that are exerted upon the neck and upon the vertebrae and upon the discs will often end up herniating those discs and damaging those discs. We also see a lot of shoulder injuries because most of our clients wear seatbelts. And when a client is struck from the rear in a high velocity crash by an 80,000 pound truck, our trucking crash attorneys at Farah Farah often see that somebody will get a shoulder injury because the seatbelt comes across the shoulder, and when the violence of the crash pushes the client forward, the seatbelt retracts against the shoulder as it's being pushed forward, and we'll often see shoulder trauma. In terms of how it affects our clients, the neck injuries affect them significantly. Often they'll have to have the damaged disc replaced. Often they will also have to have plates and screws put in their neck, and that permanently reduces the mobility of their neck when they have these crashes. In terms of shoulder injuries, yes, they can get repaired, but I've actually been told by clients over the years that they've had back surgery and shoulder surgery, and after shoulder surgery, they're in more pain than they were with back surgery because shoulder surgery is very, very painful. And you have to go through a very painful rehabilitation process to maintain your mobility in your shoulder. We see knee injuries from trucking crash cases here at Farah Farah, and we also will frequently see low back injuries as well. And that's called the lumbar spine. That's what the doctors call it, and that's what we call it. But you will see that as well, too, because again, with trucking crashes, you're dealing with, even if it's a low-speed crash, you're dealing with a truck that likely weighs tens of thousands of pounds and often up to 80,000 pounds. And it's crashing into the rear of a 3,000 pound car. So it doesn't take a mathematician to figure out that's a losing battle for the client. So that's what our trucking crash attorneys do here at Farah Farah. As a trucking crash attorney at Farah Farah, it's really important for us to understand the medicine behind our clients' injuries. I have personally made it one of my career missions to completely understand the medicine as best as I possibly can. And that's important for several different reasons. First, you've got a client who's in pain. And very often they've never had any pain before, and they certainly haven't had any pain like they've had after a trucking crash. So we're able to explain to that client what the treatment is going to be. And in terms of if the client's going to have a surgery, we will always sit down with our client because we've got experience. We've got so many other clients that have had similar surgeries. And we sit down with our client and walk them through what's going to happen with their surgery. Because they see neurosurgeons and orthopedic surgeons, and everybody knows those doctors will spend about 2 minutes with you and won't explain anything. I have often had clients tell me that they really appreciated it because I took 15, 20 minutes to walk them through what the surgery was going to be, how they were likely to feel after it. And I told them this is all based on my experiences with my prior clients. So from that standpoint, it's really, really important for a truck crash attorney to understand the medicine behind the injuries so that we can sit down with a client and make sure that they're comfortable as best as possible with this bad hand that's been dealt to them. But it's also important when we represent that client before a jury. In order to effectively communicate anything in life, I think you have to understand it completely, or else you're going to talk in big words. If you don't really know what you're saying, you're going to talk in big words. But if you really know it, you can communicate it in a way that people are going to understand it. When we talk about injuries before a jury, if I were to get up before a jury and say, our client suffered a cervical disc herniation with cervical radiculopathy down the arm, nobody's going to know what I'm talking about. But if I get in front of a jury as a truck crash attorney with Farah Farah and I say, our client suffered a neck injury and an injured disc that's causing a shooting pain down her arm, they're going to understand that a lot more. In order to effectively communicate that to 6 strangers who don't know the first thing about our client, we have to really, really know what we're talking about with the medical part of it.